I've got my great co-host, Mike Ruthenberg with me. Mike, good evening. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you tonight, Tamara?
Hey, it's Tuesday night. I'm always a lot better when it's Tuesday night.
That's great. Although it was really wonderful to have a Memorial Day weekend, and that's the kickoff to summer, and there's a lot more important meetings than that as well.
Absolutely. We've got a great show for everybody tonight. One of the most important things, we're going to kick the show off with Mike's giveaway question, and then we're going to get to news.
All right. Well, the reason why you're here, I hope, is so you can learn a little bit more about Convention of States, so you can share the information and, equally as importantly, the inspiration of Convention of States with all the people you know on Facebook. So by posting on Facebook, by commenting, by carrying out conversations, answering questions if you have the answers, and posing questions if you have the questions, all is helpful to get us out into the internet world. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you guys started by doing a little giveaway question. And this should be easy as shooting fish in a barrel right now, because what we're looking at is the question of the day. The question of the day is, there is the United States Constitution, the greatest governing document in the history of the world. And of course, even the greatest things in the world need to be adjusted periodically. It's written in, the process is written in to the Constitution in how to adjust it. It's lasted over 230 years. There's a lot of things that it has withstood as far as the test of time. I still believe it's the greatest governing document ever made in the history of the world, and it has made such a great place in America. However, like I said, there's been changes to that Constitution. Those changes are called amendments. The first 10 were a big group of them, the Bill of Rights, and then we need to know how many other amendments were there. And so it's kind of a trick question. So go ahead and tell us how many amendments total. That'll work. Or how many after the first 10 or the Bill of Rights are there to the Constitution, and you'll win a prize. And that prize will be a tyranny response team.
Nice. I like it.
We call it tyranny response team because when we get involved and we hold our elected officials responsible to doing what we, the people, want, that's how we prevent tyranny. So you can proudly wear that hat when you're out and about, when you're doing gardening or whatever, if you answer the question right. And don't forget to put the name of your state right in there so we can give a shout out to the great state that you are from.
Hey, wear it to all those parades you're going to be part of and showing up to between Memorial Day and 4th of July. That's a perfect chance to wear that hat. We are coming off of Memorial Day. Of course, we have gotten used to thinking of Memorial Day as hot dogs and that extra day off and fun and picnics and family, which is good, but it really has lost a little bit of the meaning of Memorial Day. And that is a time to be introspective and thoughtfully remember and somberly remember those who have given the ultimate sacrifice at liberty's tree, right? And that is those throughout our nation's history who have died to keep all of us free, to keep us doing what we're doing and showing up for work and doing the simple little things in life without, Mike, as you said, tyranny at our doorsteps. And sometimes lately, socialism has been the talk of the day. It is on the rise, unfortunately. Democrats, Socialists of America, are actually the organizing arm for Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign this year. Colonel Allen West this weekend put a challenge out to South Carolina's veterans, and we're going to learn what that is shortly when we talk to our guest from South Carolina. Mike, we've got a troubling number of 2020 presidential candidates who are going as far left they could possibly be, and in who can out-socialist the other candidate. Free stuff at the expense of freedom. Pardon me?
Go back to McGovern, and when he ran for president, he ran largely on a socialist platform, and he was roundly beaten. The American people do not want socialism, no matter what you call it. And it used to be a dirty word. And of course, now there's so many people that don't truly understand what it is. But when people understand what it is, when we get down to brass tacks, I think we'll be in good shape.
I absolutely, what I love is the fact we're actually having this discussion. Last week, Mark Meckler was on 20 plus radio stations talking about this exact thing. When we get a chance to elevate a dialogue to discuss the Constitution, America's founding, we as citizens are much better off. And I love it, Mike, because I like to think that Convention of States is pushing to drive that narrative towards a constitutional discussion. And I think that's actually scaring people who are seeing they could actually lose power and influence and money if we get to a convention. What do you think?
That's true. And the good thing about it, and the reason why we're tying the subject of socialism to Convention of States, is because socialism simply can't happen if it's if there's a power vacuum. In other words, if we take the power that was given to us, we the people, away from our elected officials, then it takes absolute power in order to have socialism. Do you want the government to decide how much money you should make? Do you want the government to decide what type of health care you have? And do you want the government to decide whether or not you should be able to travel or do anything that you want? That's how you lose your freedom. And it starts off as abundance for all, but the reality, the price tag is just way too tall.
You know, there's even some relevant examples of how little bits of our freedom are taken away here and there over time. When toilets are regulated, right? The power of the flush. The federal government regulates the power of the flush of a toilet you can have in your home. Your bit of freedom has been taken away. When the federal government can tell you what kind of a light bulb you are now allowed to buy, guess what? That is a little bit of your freedom that's been taken away. And a lot of people don't think that really means anything, right? Because that freedom's been taken away under the guise of environmentalism. We're protecting this, that, and the other, when actually the government is only gaining a foothold into your life and trying to take control. But as Mike said, the founders put in that tool, that's Article 5 in the Convention of States, so that we actually have a tool, a constitutional tool that enables us to say, I don't think so. And this kind of a discussion, getting to a convention, believe it or not, under the Convention of States resolution to put the nail in the coffin to socialism of any kind, we actually have the power to put amendments in place that could literally enable America to stay free as long as we are active and engaged. And I love that, Mike, because that is what keeps America's prosperity for generations to come.
It's true. And just one little regulation here, one little tax there seems pretty harmless, especially if it's something that you might be a champion of. It's a cause you might be a champion of. But what ultimately happens is those things add up. And what happens is this little book, the Constitution of the United States, turns into this. This is what our Constitution is now.
Yes.
And it is a monster. One decision at a time is all it takes to transform our nation.
That's right. Absolutely. So producer G was going to run a clip of Alan West, but producer G, give me that thumbs up if you think we can run that clip after Mike gives his answer, because I think that'd be a perfect segue to get into our South Carolina guest. If that's okay and we can do that, Mike, let's give the answer to the giveaway. Who won? All
right, I'll be happy to do it. And the winner is Dan Schumacher from Iowa, the great state of Iowa. And I'm telling you, we probably wouldn't have nearly as much corn as we need. And that's not the only thing, of course, that we can get out of Iowa. But Iowa's a really amazing state politically. It is a cornerstone for us here in the nation. And Dan Schumacher understood that there are 27 amendments or 17 amendments that happened after our Bill of Rights. And of course, you guys know that there were more than 10, there were 13 originally proposed amendments for the Bill of Rights. And so not all amendments make it. And over time, there's been thousands of people that have, and thousands of amendment suggestions that have been put forward. But because the bar is so high, those did not turn into the script of our nation or the governing document of our nation, which is the U.S. Constitution. And that's what Article 5 allows us to do, is it allows us to propose amendments to the Constitution. All 27 of those amendments happened through Article 5, through what we call the first method, which means that 2/3 of the Congress all agreed that this amendment should stand. Once they agreed and proposed the amendment, then it took 3/4 or 34 states in order to vote thumbs up, in order to ratify that amendment suggestion to our Constitution. It's only happened 27 times, but the great thing about it is it's done amazing things. Of course, it's brought some term limits in the past, term limits for our president. It abolished slavery. It's given women the right to vote. And of course, it brought us prohibition, but then it brought us our booze back as well. A lot of amendments to the Constitution that had a lot of meaning to them. And that is why we, as the people, need to be looking and seeing what we can do in order to be able to correct either the errors or the things that have changed over time in our Constitution. And
Absolutely.
This is your hat, Dan. We'll send it off to you. Thanks for playing.
Hey, well, we have a great guest tonight, and he is our media liaison from South Carolina. He's amazing, and we're going to bring him on right after this Allen West clip, and we're going to talk about it.
To honor that simple document that they took an oath to support and defend, and that they were willing to lay down their lives for. The oath that they took with no purpose of evasion, no mental reservation. An oath that 4 generations in my family have taken. An oath that many of you out here have taken. The oath that every one of them took. Earn this. Leave here today more so committed than ever before to stand for what it means to live in this great nation. To understand the blessings that they have passed on to us. To understand the gift that they gave us by laying down their lives. And for those of us that are on this side of the grass, that have been on those battlefields, we must forever tell their stories. Just the same as that movie that came out. They shall never grow old. They should not ever be forgotten. Tell their stories as they look out upon each and every one of us today. And they say 2 words to us. Earn this. God bless you all. God bless these great United States of America. And God bless the greatest nation that the world has ever known, because we continue to produce the greatest men and women that stand on freedom's ramparts for us each and every day. Thank you so much.
That is extraordinarily powerful. Earn this, right? What a challenge on Memorial Day from Colonel Allen West. He's been a guest on this show. He is extremely articulate, and his words bring so much meaning following Memorial Day. Earn this. Don't let these folks be forgotten. And certainly, even introducing socialism in any form in this nation actually is an injustice to those who have paid that ultimate sacrifice. I'm excited to welcome Jeff Kilgren. He's a media liaison from the great state of South Carolina. And Jeff and I have had the opportunity to work together for quite a long time with Convention of States, I'm proud to say, because Jeff actually was working as a media liaison in Indiana. And then right after Indiana passed, Jeff got transferred by his company to South Carolina, and they had a void to fill, and he filled it. Jeff, super excited that you're here tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tamara.
Hey, tell us about this amazing experience. You guys had all day on Sunday with Colonel Allen West to discuss, celebrate, and really just meet people in South Carolina. What happened?
Well, we had the opportunity to present the Convention of States project to the York County Veterans Advisory Council in York, South Carolina a few months ago, and it was very well received. And afterwards, they asked if we could possibly help them to get a guest speaker for their Memorial Day observance. They had a new monument and a new park, and they wanted to kick it off with a good speaker. And we said we would ask. And that's all we basically did, was ask National if it would be possible to get Colonel Allen West to come for that Memorial Day observance. And lo and behold, he came back and said yes. So they were delighted that he could come. We actually spent the entire day with him. We had a brunch with him prior to the event. And then after the event, we had a spaghetti dinner to raise money for the veterans of York County, South Carolina. So we basically had the entire day with Colonel West. He gave 3 separate presentations, including the one you just heard at the Memorial Day observance. And it was awesome. And everybody was extremely impressed and pleased with his presentations that he gave. He's an awesome speaker.
How many people do you think showed up?
I think between the 3 events, we probably had 200 people.
That's
fantastic.
A great number. And that there's a lot of people that want to come out and celebrate freedom. And a lot of people talk about convention states, of course. And South Carolina has a ton of things going on right now. Not only this event, but I understand that you got some really wonderful news that you want to share with us. And what might that be?
Well, this Memorial Day observance was held this past Sunday, and the week prior, on a Saturday, the GOP of South Carolina had their state convention. South Carolina does their party conventions on alternating years. So this year is the GOP year. 2020 will be the Democratic year. And we participated, most of us for the first time in our lives, from the precinct, the initial precinct reorganization meetings up to the county conventions. At many of the county conventions, we were able to get the counties to adopt the COS resolution at the county level. And when we got to the state convention last Saturday, because so many counties had adopted it, they put it to the state for a vote, and we passed. So that was awesome to participate in that, and we'll do that again next year when the Democrats have their precinct, county, and state conventions. We will participate in those just as actively.
So your strategy is to take it to the people of both parties, make it a plank in the platform of the GOP and the Democratic Party, and then push it through South Carolina. It sounds like a pretty solid strategy to me.
Yeah, and we had the opportunity a few weeks ago to present COS to the entire Democratic House caucus, and that was well received. They gave us some questions that we have to get back with them, but the main thing is that they gave us a hearing. So we continue to do that on a bipartisan basis through both parties until we can get it through the legislature.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So Jeff, thank you in advance for your service. You are a veteran, and we appreciate all that you have sacrificed and your love for this country and serving all of us. How does your military service factor into what you're doing now with Convention of States?
Well, I was in for 21 years as an officer, and you take that oath that Colonel West was just reciting to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that clause "and domestic" always was a logical question for me. How do I do that? How do I support my Constitution against domestic enemies? And one day, while driving through the Chicagoland area, I heard Mark Levin on the radio talking about Article 5 in the Convention of States, and the bell just clicked for me that is how I can support and defend my Constitution against the domestic enemies that are undermining it in a lawful, peaceful, constitutional manner. So I've been volunteering ever since, and I feel like we're on obviously solid constitutional, legal, historical ground to support our Constitution in this manner.
Now,
That's
Jeff,
awesome.
you got to see, being from Indiana, you got to see the resolution go all the way through the legislature and for Indiana to become one of our 19 states that have passed the resolution. So now tell me a little bit about what is next for South Carolina and what does it really take to make it happen?
Well, it was the first state to introduce it, the Convention of States resolution, in tandem with Virginia, I think in 2013, several years ago. It's been bouncing around the legislature ever since while other states have been passing it. And basically, as a number of states have experienced, we've not been able to get it out of committee onto the floor, although we feel we have the votes to pass if it were to get to the floor. So the way that the legislature works in South Carolina is they have a 2-year term. Right now they're in their pause between the active sessions, and they will come back into active session in January. So during this summer hiatus, we have to lobby the leadership of the legislature to appoint a subcommittee to look at the resolution seriously so that when they reconvene in January, they will be ready to bring it finally to committee for a vote so we can get it out onto the floor for a full vote in both houses.
So what role do the supporters of Convention of States bring to this, and how important is it for them to take action? And of course, what are some of the best things that people in South Carolina that are watching can do?
Well, we saw how it passed in Arkansas with just a few handwritten letters to a key legislator. So we are doing that letter writing campaign. We're visiting them when they're back in their local districts. We're visiting them in the State House. We're engaging them at venues where they are campaigning or putting their faces out to their constituents, because many of them will be up for re-election. So we're engaging them everywhere and every way that we can so that they see the Convention of States project as an omnipresent force that they need to give us a vote on.
So Jeff, why are you working so hard for Convention of States? We know you heard about it from Mark Levin, and the light bulb went off, but why do you believe this is the battle for our time right now? Why are you engaged in it?
Well, I've seen a lot of other proposals of how to put the country on the right path, but frankly, I haven't seen any that are constitutional, legal, historical, and peaceful. There are a lot of other people that are advocating other things. Article 6, nullification, even secession, and civil disobedience. And all these things are valid, but by all means, let's try the peaceful, legal, constitutional approach before we go to those radicals. Is the logical thing we should all be focused on to get our country back on the right path in a peaceful, constitutional manner.
Do you think this is a natural thing for veterans who have been used to serving our nation, maybe abroad or whatever their active duty role was? Is this a natural, maybe obvious opportunity for veterans to continue to serve, but just in a different way constitutionally?
I think it is, because even after we retire, we're still bound by our oath. We're recallable for life as officers back into the service. So we are never released from that oath. And that oath binds us to the Constitution. So for us, there's really no other option than to continue to support and defend that Constitution. And Article 5 is there. It's just like a verse in the Bible. You have to accept the Bible as a whole if you're a Christian, and if you're an American, you have to accept the Constitution as a whole. You don't get to pick and choose. And Article 5 is as clear as it possibly could be that that's the fire alarm that the founders left for us if the building was on fire, to break the glass and pull that handle. So it's obviously that time has come. We see it every time we turn on the television.
With us right now is Jeff Kilgren from South Carolina with Convention of States Project. And in the state, actually in every state, of course, South Carolina is one of 50 states where we have an entire grassroots organization that is being built in order to support Convention of States, in order to take governance back from the government that's gotten away from us. Now there's 16 positions, volunteer positions with Convention of States, and they vary greatly. It takes a team in order to be able to make things work. Jeff, what's your role with Convention of States, and what are some of the things that you do, or should I say roles?
Well, I've got three currently. I'm the veterans liaison, I'm the media liaison, and I'm a regional coordinator amongst the district captains in the Midlands region, which is the central region of South Carolina. We have three regions of South Carolina: the upstate, the coastal, and the Midlands, and I'm the coordinator for the Midlands.
That's great. Well, so, Jeff, we're out of time. Tam, you got a parting shot?
No, that I was just, Jeff, we're so appreciative of your service and that you are working as one of our leaders in South Carolina. We just thank you for coming on tonight with us. We just appreciate everything you've done and will continue to do. South Carolina, we're looking at you guys. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
All right, thanks, Jeff. And you've heard it probably many times. Some gave all gave some, and all that gave were willing to give all, and you were one of those. Thank you for your service, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with you in remembering those that did give all in their service of this nation.
Earn this.
Thanks for being here.
Earn this. That's right. I love that, Mike. Earn this. I'm going to think about that. Maybe we need to get that on one of our Convention of States t-shirts.
That's a good one. We might have to do that.
Colonel Allen West. I like that. We need to think about doing that. You know, we are out of time tonight. I know
we're getting the kinks out of this thing a little bit, and so all the comments that you guys are making, we're not really getting to see what they are. The one thing that I can tell you that is burning like wildfire is the whole idea of socialism, and the reason, that's in the news cycle right now. And it's super important to understand that it's in the news cycle, which means people are talking and thinking about it, and they're looking for natural ties. Well, the people that are involved in Convention of States understand that the antidote or the kryptonite to socialism is Convention of States. And it's up to us to make sure that we let people understand what socialism is. We continue to educate people because there's so many young people that didn't live with it, that didn't understand what it was, that didn't see how unpopular and unsuccessful it is as a way of governing. It's never been successful anywhere in the world. And so the one little piece I want to leave with before we leave today, Tamara, is a lot of people make a mistake and they think that socialism exists in places like Norway and Denmark and Sweden and the Scandinavian nations. That is not socialism, and those shouldn't be given as an example of successful socialism. They have very healthy safety nets, and it's a very affluent area, but they are built on capitalism. It's strong. They have oil. They have all kinds of business, private enterprise that is driving those nations. So do yourself a favor, learn a little bit more about the greatness of capitalism, pass it along to somebody you know, like this on Facebook. And if you want to get involved, if you want to capture one of those 19 volunteer positions here in the Convention of States, go to conventionofstates.com, sign our petition. That will be sent exactly to your elected representative. We've taken technology, just put in your address, it'll decode the address, send it right to your representative. Go on to volunteer with us, pick a position that fits for you, and join the Army and join the fight with us, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out several news reports that aired this weekend talking about Cuba back to rationing, showing the lack of these huge grocery stores with nothing on the shelves and people fighting and clamoring over the last few bags of flour. That's what socialism looks like. Yeah, not like Norway and Sweden and Denmark. That's not socialism. Those are actually democracies, believe it or not. So,
Looks like another show's in the can today, Tamara, and we'll be back next week. We'll iron the kinks out of this cool technology that allows us to show the videos and to have the guests on. But this time we're going to sign off. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you coming back every single week here on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m., at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m.
6 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you. But the one I won't make a mistake on is the battle cry this Sunday. You don't want to miss Mark Meckler, the president of Convention of States, give his battle cry, and that's at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And you're going to want to catch him for a half hour. He'll let you know exactly what's going on. You've probably heard him on the radio and seen him in the news because he has been all over the news. Thanks for watching. God bless you all.
Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.